and they were going to pick it. 2 years ago. I was 14 then. Summer, of course. In winter, all the settlements are relatively safe, protected by snow and cold. Anston's Well still is, a nice place, with nice people in it. About 30 families, big enough to have their own storehouse and trading post. The Othersiders must have decided it had reached a point where it was big enough to bother with. The first I'd known about it was when I got woken up from a sound sleep by the monastery alarms. My master, Keto, was pounding on my door as I was stamping on my boots. "Summon," he'd said, so I summoned my hounds, who'd joined his 4 that were milling about in the hall outside my room, and we'd met the rest outside in the snow. Everybody, and I mean everybody, had piled out of the monastery. Even the oldest and youngest, and the ones with no magic and no hounds were armed. When we'd gotten down to Anston's Well, about a third of the houses were on fire, and there were monsters in the streets, trying to pull down people who were holding them off. There were more monsters just outside the palisade around the town. That was where Keto had sent me. The hounds and it was just a blur for most of the night. I did a lot of shooting, some magic, but mostly shooting, while the hounds kept what I was shooting at too busy to come at me. Keto had given me an AK-47 with incendiary rounds, which the Othersiders I was up against did not much like. The turning point had come when the rest of the hunters from the other settlements finally reached us. By dawn, we'd driven the Othersiders off. The bodies that didn't dissolve, I think they carried off with them. We lost that third of the houses that were on fire, but we were so lucky. Just 2 deaths, though nearly everyone who wasn't a hunter was hurt or burned. But like Per Anston had said, "We can rebuild. We can't resurrect." I wouldn't show how scared I was now, like I hadn't then. I'd spent a lot of time learning how not to show it, but I was scared. Of course, I wasn't from a place that was precisely safe, but it was safer than most of the territory we were speeding through, and I was going to be going out there, into the worst parts of it, if not now, then soon. It would surely be no more than a year before I was patrolling it. I'm a hunter, and that's my job. There is no more important job in the world. Hunters stand between the monsters of the breakthrough and ordinary people. If it hadn't sunk in before, that sure had been made clear to me the night Anston's Well was attacked. I knew those people. They were my neighbors, and a couple of the hurt folks were my friends. They'd come up to dance at the safe haven flings, and I'd run off the Othersiders from their fields, and that was when I knew for certain sure that there was nothing more important than being a hunter. Because being a hunter meant I could do something about the Othersiders that no one who wasn't a hunter could do. It had been the hunters, not bullets, not RPGs, who had turned the tide that night, who had kept Anston's Well from being another one of those casualties in the war between the Othersiders and humans. This isn't a job you pick. It's a job that picks you. But if I'd been given the choice, I'd still be a hunter. That morning, on the way back up to the monastery in the back of the truck, my master Keto had given me this long and searching look, the measuring kind. I guess he must have seen what he wanted to see, because he'd ruffled up my hair and said, "Now, you are a real hunter, chica," and leaned back and closed his eyes, looking satisfied. One of the stewards was making his way through the rows, checking on everyone. He had on the dark green uniform of the train service, which looks military but isn't, and had a serious, square face with ginger hair. I wasn't sure why he needed to check on people, but this was an expensive and very exclusive way to travel, so I suppose the illusion of always being served came with it. No one flies but the military, of course. The skies are just too dangerous. There are other trains, not like this one, where people are packed in like cattle. They have to hump their own luggage, bring their own meals. I saw them at the station, and it looked like the old pictures of people fleeing from a war. Not me. I was told that once I was away from my masters and home, I would always get the star treatment, partly because of what I am,